if your morning routine is the very thing that's giving you a mental barrier for starting to take action in your day, then like it's probably doing more harm than good.
Mhm. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Truth Talks, the podcast that brings you real strategies for sustainable fitness transformation. I'm Courtney, and as always, this is my brother Paris. And today we're here to talk about something that we just can't stop seeing online. Like if anybody follows like a fitness influencer, chances are, or even if you don't follow them, chances are it's popped up in your feed, you've seen somebody talking about their morning routine, right? And I'm not going to lie, as somebody who's like not a morning person, it often rubs me the wrong way because I'm like, "Ugh, do I really need to be doing all these things with my morning to like kind of quote unquote optimize my life or make my fitness journey better?" And so I can't be the only one who feels that way, right? Like the questioning about the morning situation and not being a morning person.
Yeah. you, it's funny that's just become this huge thing online. I think because people like to do like day in the life or morning in the life, and then it just caught on, and then now we're getting to the point where there's this whole massive system for your mornings,
Mm.
right? It almost became a bit of a joke with like Ashton Hall, like that reel that kind of blew up of like 4 a.m. he wakes up and then dives in the pool at 4:03, and then like I
Oh,
don't
I
know if
don't
you
think I
remember
saw
that one.
that one, but
What?
no.
Okay. It's got like 100 million views or something. So
Oh
I
my
think,
God.
and then people thought like, okay, well, I guess I need to be, if I'm going to be in good shape, or if I need to be healthy, or if I need to be productive, then I have to be doing these crazy morning routines. You can
Right.
search it up after.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of caught on, and then it just kind of exploded on like people becoming obsessed with the morning routine.
Side note, just like kind of side note, but still related. I always find it hilarious when people like are like, here's my morning routine, and they get out of bed like perfect makeup and everything already. I'm like, dude, we all know you didn't actually like, and who's filming you waking up like before you're awake? You know what I mean? That sort of thing. We all know there's a certain staging to it. So let's just put that out
Oh,
there too.
100%. If you guys
Yeah.
were to see the way my hair looks like when I first wake up in the morning, it would be insane. It would be
God.
insane. You
Yeah.
don't like, and I that's why I shower right away, because I don't like my
Yeah.
hair is messy. It's like
There
I've
you go.
always been like that
It's
ever
also
since I was
probably
a
why
kid.
you haven't posted any sort of morning in my life video yet. Because,
That is true. And also, should I go through my morning routine so that you know what it is?
yeah, you know what? Let's start there. Let's talk about your
Should we
morning
start with
routine.
our okay?
Let's talk
And you
about
know
ours.
this.
I like that. I like that. Let's talk about our
Okay.
real morning routine so we can keep it real over here. And then we'll go through like just the general thoughts on morning routines for other people as well.
Yeah, you ready for this crazy sequence?
I'm ready. Please enlighten me about your exceptional morning routine that dictates the success of your life.
Yeah. So this is it. I wake up
What time?
right now 6:30. Right now it's
Oh,
6:30. Yeah,
decent.
because Tara and I were trying to like she does writing in the morning before work, and then like I found that's like a good sweet spot for both of us. Uh, so 6:30, wake up. I go get my clothes that are already laid out for me from the night before. Okay, then I usually weigh myself. Right, use the washroom, weigh myself, write down in my spreadsheets. Then I'll take a shower. Okay, get out, do my hair, that kind of stuff. Then I go to the kitchen. Well, usually then I'll go say good morning, Tara. Then I'll go to the kitchen and I fill up my water bottle. I'll take my morning supplements that are already laid out on the counter for me, including creatine, and then I will pour myself a coffee. And then I sit down at my desk and I start working. That's it.
Very logical, very sequential, and very accessible. Like there's nothing about that I'm like, ooh, that takes a significant amount of mental energy to like get through to start your
All
day,
that takes
right?
30 minutes because I usually wake up at 6:30 and I'm at my desk just before 7.
Wow, you're efficient.
I try. Well, it's because it was all laid out before.
Yeah. Well, and also because your hair probably doesn't actually take that long to do up
No, it,
either.
it
Yeah,
takes like
so that helps.
21 seconds.
That's
So that's
awesome.
my morning routine. And that's been the same apart from yeah, pretty much been that for the last like 4 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, my
Yeah.
morning routine was not the same 4 years ago when I was, working my corporate job. But I'll walk you through what mine looks like now because I actually think it's similarly very consistent from day to day. I am not a morning person, so usually I'm up closer to 7, in all honesty. Some days I push to 7:30, but, it depends on if I had a later night the night before. Sometimes if we play volleyball at night, it takes me longer to, like, wind down in the evening, so I go to bed a bit later, so sometimes I'll just push my wake-up time back half an hour. But let's say 7 o'clock. And then, the biggest part of my morning, I think, is I usually make, Justin's coffee because he's already at his desk. He starts work early, so I make him a cup of coffee, I bring that into him, I get myself ready. Toby, our dog, is like now if there was a definition of like I call him a snooze monster, but like somebody who is just not a morning person, it's him. He does not like to get out of bed, which makes it a lot harder for me to get out of bed, but eventually I do it and he's there. And I usually have to kind of bribe him or negotiate with him to like get him to go for his morning walk. But that's like the biggest thing that takes me effort in the morning is like bribing Toby to get out the door so I can take him out for a walk. And last summer they actually built a dog park 2 blocks up from our place. So I bring him to the dog park in the morning, spend some time there. I come back and I'm usually working by between 8 and 8:30. If sometimes I've got 8 o'clock calls or, on check-in days, I want to start as early as possible, make sure I get check-ins done closer to 8. Back half of the week, I might start closer to 8:30. Give Toby a little bit of extra time at the park. But that's it. Like that, like kind of like yours. Like, and if anyone's like, you didn't shower, I'm like, I just shower at night, people. Like, I'm just not a morning shower person,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for the record. Because I think that's the biggest part of your routine is like that. But for me, it's just
Yeah.
get up, get ready, take Toby out, come back, start work. Well,
I
I
think it's,
definitely get my coffee though. Sorry. In
yeah.
addition to making Justin's coffee, I absolutely make my own. But I usually wait until I'm back from taking Toby out. It's nice to get the sunshine
Yeah.
if I can in the morning first, and then
Oh
it gives
yeah.
me that little reward when I sit down at my computer. I'm like, got my coffee. We're good.
100%. I think the shower gives me some time to just go from waking up to like sitting down and working. Cause
Mm.
again, a lot of the work we do, especially with clients, like I need to be on and like, you know, looking at details
Energized.
and stuff like that and energized. And I can't just roll out of bed right into that. So it's like take the shower, sit down, hydrate, sit down, and then you're good to go type thing. But yeah, I think, yeah, that's cool. Those are morning routines.
Yeah, and I think both of us have that thing in common, which is like, what is the thing that kind of, for lack of a better word, it like escorts you into your workday, right? Like,
Yeah.
because we both work from home, you kind of need something that is that transition from I'm sleeping to I'm ready to work. And for you, it's your shower. For me, it's going out with the dog, right? But we both
Yeah.
have that in common. It's just that one thing that kind of like gives you that mental refresh, mental awakening. So I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to actually start my day. And I think I'm going to start kind of easing us into the conversation about what makes like a morning routine productive, or do we really need one? Is it overrated? I do think having that thing that like consistently starts your day and puts you in the headspace to start your day is important.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think it's the same thing as like pre-workout. We talked about pre-workout routines and stuff like that. Like having something that gets you in the mode to go and train. And some people do train in the morning, so this conversation has overlap with
Hmm.
that. But
Yeah.
even if you don't train in the morning, like something that is just a routine that anchors your day and starts it off on a good foot. And that could be a bunch of different things. But I think something we're going to talk about is like whether or not that needs to be this 12-step,
Hmm.
sequence of events where we, go walk in the grass, sing kumbaya, tell ourselves affirmations in the mirror that we're like a boss babe. And then like, like all these,
Do you identify as a boss babe? That's nice. I like that
no,
for
I don't.
you. Okay. I was going to be fully supportive if you did, but
I just seeing things, saying things I've seen on,
yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram, but
Okay.
like, and then cold plunge, and like I hate cold plunging. It's like we don't need to do all these things. Is what I'm trying to say. But
Okay, so
anyways, yeah,
let's actually dwell on that for a
yeah,
second. So we've acknowledged it is important to have something that like awakens your day, right? It
yes,
starts your day,
absolutely.
puts you in the right mental space to get going, right? What does it not need to be though? And I think like at what point does doing things in the morning become like counterproductive?
I think as soon as it becomes a kind of mental hindrance on, like, for example, not wanting to get out of bed because you're like, oh, I got to do all these things now when I get out of bed, that in itself means that your morning routine is not serving the purpose that it should. The purpose of the
Mm,
morning routine, as we are just saying, is like it sets your day up for success. But if your morning routine is the very thing that's giving you a mental barrier for starting to take action in your day, then like it's probably doing more harm than good.
mm,
That's my
mhm.
opinion. What about
Yeah.
you?
I totally share that opinion. Like if I was starting my day and before I even had to think about my work to-do list, I had this other to-do list, which was like, oh my God, okay, I gotta do a cold plunge. I have to do a 15-step skincare routine. I need to spend half an hour journaling. I need to do a meditation. I like that would cause me anxiety. And to be honest, for me, like I know some people take value in things like journaling or, doing other things like that to start their day. And I'm all for that. I'm like, pick the thing that works for you to give you that, like, hey, I'm starting my day mental awakening. Absolutely. It's gonna look different for everybody. But I think the main thing for me is like when you have this huge checklist of things, there's two challenges I have with that. The first is it's a lot of time. Okay. And now all of a sudden, as me as a non-morning person, if I now need to wake up at 4:35 a.m. to accomplish those things before I start my workday, not only is it not going to happen because I know myself well enough, but also I might be compromising on sleep, which is the number one thing for wellness if we're talking about doing things for your fitness and your health, right? So that's my one problem is like the time. And the second thing is the mental load of that, of knowing, oh my God, I have to do all these things, creating more anxiety, which at the end of the day, if your morning routine is supposed to be about like starting your day refreshed and in a productive mindset, not like, oh my God, I'm like already stressing about doing these things.
Percent. So I think it's more about like finding the 1 to 2 things, maybe or 1 to 3 things that are simple and easy that do set you up for success. And some of them can be fitness related, and some of them might have crossover for like mindset and fitness. Like for example, the walk with Toby, you're
Hmm.
getting your steps in,
Yeah,
but you're also probably getting that mental shift, to energy, sunlight, stuff like that, right?
absolutely.
So I think
And
it's kind of
sometimes I
yeah,
call mom on the walk too, which is kind of a
yeah,
nice,
that's great.
it's a nice way to start the
Yeah.
day. Chatting
Yeah.
with mom.
So like there's a lot of different ways you can think about this, but I think when it comes to kind of health and fitness related, there's just again, online has become this massive, massive thing, and it puts people into that mindset where they're like, "Well, I can't do all that, so I'm just not going to do anything." And I think that's the wrong mindset to have, especially if we really keep it real here. Most people, unless you're going to wake up at 4 a.m., like you don't have the time in the morning to do that. Like some people, they're prepping for work, or they're commuting to work, or they have they got to be at the train station by 6:30. Like, okay, well, what time would they have to wake up?
Hmm.
Pretty damn
Yeah.
early. Or they're prepping the kids for school. They're making lunches. They're prepping their own meals. Like, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done. And I think when we put another thing in front of all that stuff,
Hmm.
it just increases stress. Then,
Hmm.
then there's no net benefit. It's a net negative.
That's a really good point. Like it's putting that routine in the bigger picture of the rest of your day and everything else you have going on. And I think if we think about what we're really trying to do, it's the consistency aspect, right? And if doing those things earlier in the day is compromising either consistency in life later in the day, which could be, consistency in your energy levels, your step count, your ability to get your workouts done, all that translates. Like imagine now I'm trying to be consistent with my workouts, but I'm doing this morning routine that gets me up at 4:30 and I'm exhausted, so I'm not doing my workouts. That's that net negative you're talking about. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
compromising on my ability to be consistent with my workouts or even to have a good workout, even if I'm going and just like hating it. Like that is the trade-off. And for me, that's a trade-off I'm not willing to make. Right. And I think for most people, when it comes to fitness, like we do need to think about the parts of our day work in tandem. Like it's not a morning routine and nothing else. Right. It's like, okay, there's a morning routine, but the morning is really the setup to your day. So you got to
yeah,
think about everything else that follows.
exactly. And the day as a whole. And here's the thing that most people I think really need to hear is a lot of times making better progress doesn't come from adding more things. It a
Mm,
lot of times comes from removing things that are just not serving you or your goals. And I'm not
right.
sure if you mentioned that on a podcast before, but I really do think that's important because people are always trying to think, what should I do? What should I try? What should I add? What should this? But usually it's okay, there's a few key variables that we need to master, and we need to remove all the fluff of what's not serving us right now. And I think every once in a while, kind of doing that audit. And so when we come to morning routines, it becomes adding, 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 and it becomes this mindset of more, 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 more.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's better way. In reality, a lot of times people just do better simplifying their life and removing a lot of stuff, not adding. So it's the
Yeah.
opposite.
If you have any sort of fitness goal, whether that goal is changing your physique, building muscle, losing body fat, getting consistent with fitness, getting your steps in, whatever it is, at the end of the day, you need to choose the things that are going to be aligned with that goal too. Right. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing that exists in life, but I think when we're talking about fitness, when we're talking about morning routines for fitness, oftentimes the things that I think we see on Instagram as part of a morning routine actually have very little significance to the goals people commonly have. Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of people, when you ask them what's your goal, it's weight loss or feeling good in their skin or having more energy, confidence, being consistent. Like those are a lot of the goals we hear a lot about, or building muscle, right? Like having a strong physique, whatever it is that people are working towards. And there's this huge disconnect between the goals people usually have and the things that they're seeing as mo- typical morning routine things, right? So that's where I have the problem with the morning routine culture because what it's helping people do is focus on all these things that are like optimize your life. And optimizing is one, not optimizing for their goal, but two, not the thing that somebody needs to worry about when a lot of the foundational things are not in place. Like,
Yes. That
right?
is so true. That is a good point. I didn't even think about that.
So let's
Yeah.
take somebody with like a fat loss goal, for instance. Okay. If their morning routine was, hey, get out for a 10-minute walk to start your day, build that into your morning routine. Amazing. Like you were saying with me and Toby, like I'm getting my steps in, right? That's super productive because one, it's aligned with their goal. It also has health benefits, like walking overall has general health benefits. And it's something that probably doesn't need to take that much time, right? Like you don't have to go walk for an hour. You can kind of scale it to whatever day you have or whatever time you have, right? So getting out
Yes.
for a morning walk, really productive, high ROI, probably not the thing that's going to become that huge mental barrier for you either. Good all around. Okay. But if you're like, oh, I have a fat loss goal and I need to make sure that I go and do a cold plunge, and then I need to do the sauna, and then I need to come back and I need to cook a breakfast that is made from scratch every single day. And then I need to take my collagen, and then I need to do this thing. Like, okay, at that point, I'm just going to put out there, most of those things are probably not aligned with your goal,
Yes.
right? Especially the
Sure.
cold plunge and the sauna, which if you have other reasons for doing that, absolutely. But what I'm talking about is in this hypothetical situation, somebody has a fat loss goal. Those are the things I would take out, right? And I would be like, okay, now if we want to strip it down further, let's take that breakfast you're making from scratch every day. How do we make that efficient for you so it still supports your fat loss goal? And is the fact that you're spending an hour making it really productive, or is it what you're eating that makes it more productive for your goal?
Mhm.
Like, and kind of just unpacking all
Yeah.
those things, right?
Yeah. And also like the meal within the context of the entire day. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like
Yeah.
we're missing the big picture. And as you said, imagine how much time, energy, and discipline it takes to like do those actions, but they're not even aligned with the goal. So it's like,
Hmm.
well, what if we just reverted all that energy and time to something that is like, again, high ROI activities for the specific goal that we're chasing. And that comes down to, again, when people say that, oh, I'm busy or this thing, like we talked about in our last podcast with the busyness,
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, if we're busy, why would we spend any time or energy doing things that are not aligned with the goal? Why? You're literally, by definition, wasting wasting your
Wasting
time
time.
that is
Yeah.
apparently very limited.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think for busy people, especially, the morning routine in the influencer sense, the morning routine is so, I'm going to say counterproductive, right? Stacking all these things into your morning when you're already super busy is not productive if they're not aligned with your goal. But I feel like we've spent a lot of time kind of, you know, bashing morning routines. But
Yeah.
I just want to say two things. One is, remember we started with this conversation with us sharing what our morning routines are.
Hmm.
We are
Hmm.
not anti-morning routine, okay?
No,
Morning
definitely not.
routines are so purposeful in terms of starting your day on, to use a cliche, you're going to start your day on the right foot. So what we're saying here is don't overcomplicate it and force fit somebody else's,
Yes.
prescriptive, long checklist, super time demanding, misaligned with your goals, morning routine. Don't force fit that version of a morning routine into your life, especially if you're somebody who's busy and really wants to be efficient with your time, or maybe you're just like me and you're not a morning person, right? Let's go back to, though, when a morning routine can have purpose to starting your day on the right foot, because there are a lot of people out there who are either morning people or are just using their mornings in a way that actually does align with their goals, gets them closer to their goals, or overall enhances their life. So I want to make sure we have time to talk about that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I think, especially if you're somebody who's a morning person, like I am my most sharp in the morning. Like my past, like, certain point, once the 7 p.m. hits, like my mental acuity definitely drops off a cliff. Whereas other people, they all of a sudden get a second boost of creativity in the evening. They're like, oh, wow, I got all these ideas. I can't wait to work on them. Whereas I'm like, no, no, no. Give me the hardest task like immediately when I wake up. Let's do it. So I think you have to know yourself first. And at the end of the day, let's say there's like 4 or 5 key needle movers that you need for your goals. It
Hmm.
really doesn't matter when you do them.
Hmm.
So you're not forced to wake up and do the steps in the workout immediately in the morning, or you don't have to, do XYZ in the morning just because somebody else does it. Like you could do those things later, if that works for you. But I think, yeah, the really big positive is like, especially if you're a morning person, like it's a great opportunity for you to check a lot of boxes right away and kickstart your day with momentum. If I
Hmm.
could, stop rambling for a second and say it like
No,
it is,
keep
it's
going.
like, yeah, it allows you to start your day with momentum. So you're already in the swing of things versus I find if you have a really slow start to the day, by the time it's the afternoon, you kind of haven't really gained that momentum. You're kind of still like just dragging your way versus if you start really strong, that momentum tends to kind of carry you through your day. Start with a good meal, or start already chipping away at your steps, or you got your workout done, or you chipped away at work so you feel less stressed for the rest of the day. Like something, yeah.
It's actually the positive version of like the sunk cost fallacy, right? If anybody's familiar with the psychological principle of like a sunk cost fallacy, it's like, let's say you make an investment in something. You're like, oh, I already spent X amount of money on it. Therefore, I got to keep up with it, or I got to keep doing this thing, right? That's sunk cost fallacy. This idea that we might stay with something that's not serving us because we've already made a certain investment. Or let's say you've spent X amount of time in a bad relationship,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you're going to stay longer in that relationship because you already spent X amount of time. And it's like, well, now you're just extending the amount of time you spent, but it's not
Yes.
serving you, right?
Yeah.
So this morning principle that you're talking about is actually that fallacy, but not the fallacy side, like the benefit side. It's like if you sink a cost into the start of your day, into your morning, and you're like, I'm investing in my morning. I'm going to spend X amount of time or energy or activity or effort doing this thing or these things. And that completely actually sets you up to stay doing those things the rest of the day. Whether that's, hey, I'm going to invest in a breakfast that gives me X amount of protein so I can make sure I hit my protein goal the rest of the day. Or I'm going to have a breakfast that makes me feel energized so I don't end up,
Snacking
completely
later or something.
crashing later
Yeah.
and missing my workout. Or I'm going to get certain amount of steps in so that later on I'm inspired to close the rest of the gaps in my steps, right? That can be really powerful if you choose those actions that actually are the ones you want to uphold later throughout the day.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. So I think the key kind of takeaways is you don't choose something that's overwhelming. Okay. Overwhelming amount of steps. You need to know yourself and your schedule, and also your psychology around the
Mhm.
morning.
Mhm,
That's the
mhm.
main thing. And then think about your morning routine as something simple that can help kickstart momentum for the day, with the tasks that are and the actions that are actually important for your
Mhm,
specific
mhm,
goals at the current phase.
mhm. Yeah, and I'm gonna throw another big benefit
Yeah.
out there,
Go for it.
right? I talk a lot about decision fatigue because I'm somebody who easily gets like, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but overwhelmed by having to make decisions throughout my day. Like I'm not by definition a decisive person. And sometimes when something isn't done immediately, or you don't do something in a shorter time frame, you drag it out and then you start to feel the weight of having to make that decision. So if you're somebody who naturally is a procrastinator, okay, like that's me, I have no problem calling myself that, then doing something in the morning just means that later on, the rest of the day, you are no longer carrying that mental weight of having to do that thing. So, this is why a lot of people and a lot of our clients do work out in the morning. Like, because you're not then all day being like, okay, I still have to do my workout. I still have to do my workout. I still have to do my workout. It's weighing on your brain. Right. So I think the other benefit of having a concrete morning routine that's built for you or of taking action in the morning is actually reducing the decision fatigue the rest of the day. So if like, let's say you got a demanding work day, if you no longer have to think about, oh my God, once I get out of here, once I leave the office, I got to go get my workout done, it's actually going to change how you show up at work.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
And that
I
can
agree.
be also then a net benefit, not just to your fitness journey because you're already done your workout, but potentially to your work life.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, decision fatigue is a real thing, and it's a big thing, and that's why, for example, even the smallest things like laying out my clothes, or putting the coffee pot in the Keurig, or having this my creatine already out, and having my water bottle already out, and having my gym bag packed for later after I finish my morning block of work. Like all these things are already there. Even my pre-workout meal, I already know it's already inputted. It's already there. Like it just allows me to start my day with such a smooth kind of glide, for lack of a better term, instead of starting with friction. And it allows me to, in the morning when I wake up, it's not like, oh my gosh, this again. It's kind of like I've already set myself up for success, and now we can just keep going and take some action. Yeah,
So let me ask you this. Do
yeah.
you think it matters if you're a morning person or not?
I don't think it matters, because as long as you do the things that you need to do for the goal at hand, I don't think it matters if you're a morning person or evening person.
Yeah. I feel like what everything we've talked about so far is really about curating your own morning to take the action you need to do two things. One, set the tone for your day, make the rest of the day as frictionless as possible. And two, execute consistently towards your fitness goals. So, my takeaway from this episode is if you can do that, if you can curate your own morning to set yourself up for your day and to work towards your fitness goals, it doesn't really matter what's in that routine if it's doing those things for you. And it doesn't matter how early you start that routine or how late you do, it's yours. You're curating it. So for me, I'm not a morning person. For you, you are a morning person. We each have our own versions of our morning routine that helps us accomplish those things, right? And so I think that's the powerful piece of when morning routines are not overrated. They are not overrated when you make them truly yours for your schedule, your energy levels, your goals, all that. When they are overrated is when you're one, not curating your own, you're choosing someone else's and trying to import it over. Two, it's not really maybe setting the rest of your day up for success. Like you were talking about, sometimes there's a net negative of trying to do all these extra things in the morning or trade offs that aren't that productive. And, or three, when it's just misaligned with your goal entirely.
Absolutely. And I think people also think it has to be the same forever. Like your morning routine can change over time depending on your
Yes.
life stages, right? And that's why there's no real rules. Like I used to, there was a period of time for a couple of years where my morning routine would start much earlier than it does right now. It didn't mean that I was more or less effective just because it changed. You got to be able to shift it and adapt it based on, what your day looks like and based on your priorities and what kind of lifestyle you're living. So I think it's just acknowledging that. And just because, somebody else wake up at 5 doesn't mean you need to, or just because somebody else might start later doesn't mean you need to. You need to find what works for you. And that can and will probably change, over
That's
time.
such a good point. I'm really glad you said that because, like, even I said that earlier about how, like, obviously when I had my, corporate job, my morning routine looked different, especially the days I was in the office. Which actually, you kind of made me realize there's another important point here that I'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge, which is sometimes not every morning is also the exact same.
Yeah.
Even when it's one person in one life that they're living in one, moment in time, one life stage, right? Like, let's say you're somebody who works a hybrid job. Some days you're in the office, some days you work from home. It's highly unlikely that those 2 mornings will and should look the same
Yeah.
because if you've got a commute, that takes a different amount of time than if you don't. It also, like, sometimes if you're commuting, you naturally get steps in. Versus if you're working from home, you don't, right? Or sometimes you might do a gym workout in the morning on one of those days and not on the other, right? So I think you also need to acknowledge, like, do you have different quote unquote types of days? And that
Yes.
could be weekends, weekdays. That could be days in office, days not in office. If you work shift work, that could be something that's like, oh, I start my shift at this time versus this time.
Yep. Yep.
So the morning routine is actually not only just flexible over your lifetime, but sometimes over these like micro moments or micro schedules that we have.
Absolutely. But in those cases, I think it's really important to have like maybe 2 or 3 different
Hmm.
copy and paste
Yes.
routines. So it's like
Hmm.
if and we always talk about this, but creating the formula, if this, then this format for
Hmm.
anything, any
Hmm.
scenario. If it's this type of work day, then I do this.
Right.
If it's this, then I do this. And
Yeah.
again, removing decisions, allowing yourself to be successful and creating predictability. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. You're still having a routine on those mornings. That routine means repeatable, done consistently, right? But it's so you're not winging it from one day to the next either. They're just slightly varied. Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing. Cool.
Interesting episode. Cool.
Yeah. Do you think morning routines are overrated? Final thoughts?
In the way that they're marketed as, yes, I do.
Yes.
In the way that we describe them as, no, I
No.
think they're great.
So I'm going to say the productive morning routine is the one that you curate for yourself that allows you to take action. Boom. Done. Okay. Amazing. If you have a morning routine that you love or an aspect of your morning routine you love, or even if you just want to let us know that you're a morning person or not, whatever it is, tell us about it in the comments below. We would love to absolutely hear your thoughts on mornings overall and how you use them or don't use them for your fitness journey. And without further ado, we'll be back in your feeds with another episode of Truth Talks next Monday. Bye for now.